Welcome into episode 4 of Short Shift, the NAHL official podcast. Brandon Hofstra here, joined, of course, by Vinny Paracelli. We don't have Christian in on this episode this week, but he's around. He was hanging out. Just getting back from Minnesota, the NAPHL event up there, the fall showcase event as well. But Vinny, we're going to get into this interview that we just had last week that we recorded, but first time I've seen you in person since this summer. It's crazy.
Yeah, things have changed quite a bit, huh?
Things have changed quite a bit, for sure.
First weekend being a dad and not having to be at home changing diapers, 8 hours of sleep. It was incredible.
You were refreshed all around the whole time.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was good seeing you, obviously, and it was cool that we got our interview coming up in this later on in the podcast, which we're gonna kind of wrap up or get to our recap of the NAHL standings right now as they sit. So we got a long interview coming up with a alumni, 2-time Robbie Cup champion, Western Michigan alumni, played a little pro and current coach now for CarShield AAA 16Us. I believe it's Kyle O'Kane. So we'll get into that again, like I said, later on in this episode, but a lot going on in the NA. Obviously, a lot of our attention this last 6 days or a week or so was at this PHL event, which was awesome to see a lot of these teams coming in. A lot of returning teams, a few new teams, but a pretty fun and a crazy weekend too, all around.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you got to think about too is like we saw a lot of future NA players and we don't even know it. We know that tenders are getting released here for the NHL November 1st, so what, 2 weeks away, something like that. And some of those players that we just saw are going to be signing tenders with NAHL teams. And next year, I'm sure we'll see, a good chunk. I mean, 40, 50 guys that will come in right away and make NA rosters. And that's not even counting the guys that say go to the 3HL for a little bit, then go to the NA. I mean, there's guys that, you're 18U, you might not make it as a 19-year-old, but you might make it as a 20-year-old. You might find a spot in a roster somewhere. So kind of cool to see the, the future NAHL players in action, especially, even those younger kids, those 16s and even those 15s in there, they might go somewhere else for a little bit. They always work their way back,
Yep.
So they stay in the family somehow.
And not to mention too, a lot of those 18U players I would think a handful of them will be eligible for the NHL draft coming up next year as well. So what did we see last year? 9 NAPHL tied players that came from the 2022 NHL draft. So possibly see some of those kids or guys, young men, getting their names called this next summer in Nashville, aka Nash Vegas, Tennessee.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, let's hop right in, I guess, Vinny, to the Central Division. North Iowa leads right now, 12 games played, 8-4 record, 16 points, but swept over the weekend by the Minot Minotauros last weekend, but they still sit at that first place spot, past 10 games, 6-4-0-0. But did you kind of see this coming, Vinny? I mean, they've been playing pretty much lights out until this last weekend.
I think the thing that was just surprising was how Minot kind of just took it to him, I guess, a little. You had a Michigan in there that was pretty sick.
Right.
I think the thing that was surprising the most for me was just the way they got beat. Like Minot putting up 8 goals in 4 games. That's not been the Bulls' MO in terms of giving up goals. They've been pretty solid in between the pipes the first 10 games. So a little surprising there to get, I guess, shut out that first night 4-0 and then 4-3 the following night. So a little different North Iowa than we've seen, but Minot, they've won 4 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. I mean, granted, they've only played 11, but they're in second place for a reason. And if you look at those Central Division standings, I mean, North Iowa 16, Minot 14, Austin 13, Aberdeen 12, Bismarck 11, and St. Cloud 9. I mean, every single one of those teams is going to be in contention at least through January, February. I feel like it's going to be a dogfight, kind of like it always is in the Central.
100%. North Iowa's not going to go anywhere. They got one of the best goaltenders in the league with Eric Chafe between the pipes. So obviously we're going to see him bounce back, and the Bulls will be back, but it's pretty tight and obviously very early in the season to make some super predictions for what the postseason is going to look like. But let's jump now into the eastern side. Maryland, they continue to buzz as they have won 4 straight. They are 9-1 in their past 10 games. First place with a 12-2 record, 24 points. A pretty big differential from second place Northeast with 17 points over on that side. And a lot of it can come in thanks to Christian Catalano. 20 points this year, 14 games played. He's evened up 10 goals, 10 assists for 20 points, He also leads the NAHL in scoring. So Maryland, they're looking pretty lethal right now, eh, Vinny?
24 point. I mean, 14 games in. We're just shy of what 15 is a quarter of the season in terms of when you have 60 games, if my math's correct. So I mean, they're a quarter of the season in, and I know they've got more games played than say Johnstown and Maine and Philly. Those teams that are kind of in that 4 to 5, 6 range. But I mean, Philadelphia's got 6 points through 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's an 18-point advantage for Maryland to like miss the playoffs.
Right.
Like if they were to fall all the way down, right? We know, like we've mentioned on this podcast a few times how Maryland had a great start the last couple of years. Then they kind of fall off in the second half. I mean, the way they're playing right now, they could just kind of maybe put it on cruise control when it gets to like February.
Right. Honestly.
I mean, obviously they want to win that number 1 overall seed. Obviously the season's way too far from being done to even say that the division's locked up. But I mean, you keep playing like you play at a 12-2 clip the whole entire year. That's roughly 47, 48 wins. That's going to be easily a division winning season and a potentially a first overall kind of season where they're going to have home ice advantage throughout. And when they get to the Robertson Cup, they'll have the last change. So, I mean, it's stuff like that. Like, we talked about they've given up 24 goals in 14 games. They're getting the goaltending. They score a bunch. They just seem like the most complete team right now through a quarter of the season.
Let's move over now to the Midwest Division. It was a battle of 2 Alaska teams over the weekend, Kenai and Fairbanks, and they're 1 point from each other, and that's to do in part with an overtime loss that Kenai had. They were swept in the weekend series against Fairbanks, but one game brought them to overtime where they got 1 point out of it, and they sit now at top place with 19 points to Fairbanks 18 points. And then right after them is Janesville 17 and Chippewa 16. So it's a tight race right now in the Midwest Division. I know we talked about Fairbanks and Kenai last week or our last podcast, how tight it's been, but kind of a lucky bounce there for Kenai, an unlucky bounce, I would say, losing in overtime, but getting that point that they needed to kind of keep at the top right now. So who knows if down the line, way down the line, they get in the playoffs or into the Robertson Cup with 1 point, but who knows? What have you seen from these guys, Vinny?
Well, and Kenai before this weekend was riding a 6-game winning streak, 16 winning streak. They had played 12 games out of the state of Alaska, home opening weekend, and then they get swept by Fairbanks, who historically has had the upper hand in that rivalry, in-state rivalry. I think with Kenai too, we've seen Kenai get off to good starts before, and then they get into that grind where they've got to travel constantly to and from Alaska. And I can't use that as an excuse because obviously Fairbanks does the same thing as well, and as well as Anchorage now with last season and now this season. But something about Kenai, man, they always start really hot and then they fade down the stretch. I'm hoping that Kenai could take this year and figure it out. But I mean that Midwest Division, that race that you just pointed out, I mean there's 6 teams separated by 6 points.
Right.
Like when you talk about the Central being a dogfight, this is going to be a no-holds-bar steel cage match going down to the wire in the Midwest.
And we'll jump into the last division. That is the South, and the Lone Star Brahmas sit atop, 7-point difference from the second place Amarillo Wranglers. But 11 games played, 10-1 record. We'll get it. Well, I'll let you talk about the goal differential, but they are streaking right now, 9-1 record in their past 10 games. So Wild Fong just has these guys dialed in over here in the Dallas metro area, but Lone Star Brahmas they're wheeling and dealing, huh, Vinny?
Yeah, and you can put a lot of that credit to the return of Arthur Smith. 4 games in goal for the Brahmas, 2 goals allowed. A 0.59 goals against average, a 967 save percentage, 2 shutouts in those 4 starts. And then you add that on to William Graham, who also has the goals against under 2 and a save percentage over 920. That's going to lead to success. We said earlier how Maryland might be that complete team where they don't give up goals and they score goals. Lone Star, only 34 goals in 11 games. It's just over 3 a game. So that there's no offensive juggernaut there. And I mean, but in our pre-meeting for this podcast, we talked about how they're kind of getting contributions from everyone. There's not that one guy that you sit there and go, oh, you got to stop him. Now, granted, Matthew McDonald's got 6 goals to lead the team, 8 points. Mason Mara, 7 points. Johan Rosenquist, 7 points. And you just go down the list, though. of guys that are contributing night in, night out. But I think the key for them is going to be that goaltending. That's the normal Dan Wildfong style anyway.
Right.
And it just plays well into the way the South is played. Like there's not too many teams in the South that are very run and gun. So it kind of just plays into their pocket a little bit. I think the only team that right now, it's early because they've only played 8 games, but New Mexico, the defending playoff division champions, kind of have that same recipe, but they could put the puck in the net a little bit more. I mean, they have 36 goals so far in 8 games compared to Lone Star's 34 and 11.
Yeah.
So New Mexico has that quality home ice advantage in Albuquerque. I think that they play well there. I'll be interested when those two teams meet up, and we'll see who kind of gets the better. I think it's right now. It's early, very early. I think it's between those two teams right now for first place in the South.
You heard it here first. All right, well, there's our recap of how we sit in all the divisions in the NAHL. But like we said at the beginning of this, we're going to keep it short and sweet on our part and get to the good stuff here. So awesome interview. We can't thank Kyle enough for sitting down and talking with us at the PHL Showcase. I believe it was right before they were about to hop on the ice, right?
Yeah, I think the game was at 4. We talked to him at like 2:30 maybe. It was like,
Yeah.
He had a lot to say, though. He had a
Awesome.
lot to say, a lot of good stories. I think this is definitely going to be one of the more intriguing interviews that we'll do this season, just because he has experience kind of like all different levels. And then we're not going to, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
But he has some connections to a few popular people in the world of hockey.
Definitely. We'll leave it at that, and we're going to toss it over to Kyle. Joined here by a St. Louis native, 2-time Robertson Cup champion with the St. Louis Bandits, 1-time NCAA CCHA champion at Western Michigan. He's played in 147 NAHL games, 132 regular season points, 124 NCAA games played with 50 points. He's played 40 games in the SPHL with the Louisiana Ice Gators and the Tulsa Oilers. The CHL with the St. Charles Chill, 62 games played, 36 points, and ended his career in the ECHL with the Tulsa Oilers with 54 games played and 28 points. Welcome to Short Shift Podcast, Kyle O'Kane. Decent intro.
Yes, that was awesome. Thanks for having me, boys.
Of course.
I mean, Kyle, that's quite the road. I mean, 147 NA games back in the day. It's a little different bit of a league than when you played. I mean, talk about that experience in the North American Hockey League and playing, I mean, that's 2.5 seasons almost in the league?
Yeah, my first season I was actually played for Springfield. All 3 years I was there was in the South Division, and the South Division it's a tough division, obviously.
Was it still the Dirty South?
It was the Dirty South for sure. A lot of scraps. You had to fight for every inch on that ice, but long bus rides. I mean, you had Santa Fe was in the league, which was a long bus ride from Springfield. In St. Louis as well. You had Wichita Falls, the Tornado. It was a grind every night to get points and battle. But I was fortunate enough to play for some great coaches during those times. Played for Jon Cooper for 2 years there. Coach Nick Polis in Springfield. It was a great experience. It really taught me a lot of life lessons on how to get to the next level, how to travel, how to take care of your body. For when you get to college and you get to pro, I think, playing in the South and having some of that adversity, kind of helped me in the long run.
So Vinny kind of mentioned there, obviously your NAHL days and a little bit about that, but let's kind of start. You grew up in St. Louis, like I stated earlier. You played at CBC Christian Brothers,
college.
Yeah. Okay. High school.
Yeah.
And then right up to the St. Louis Junior Blues organization, but kind of just talk about the city of St. Louis, how hockey is growing there. And we'll kind of get into a little more with the PHL, what you do now, and some of your players that are now on the ice over there at the D1 University of Lindenwood.
Yeah, no, I look at St. Louis hockey now compared to when I was a kid, and it's 10 times better.
Right.
And I think it all starts with the youth organizations. We got some great people in charge down there in St. Louis. Missouri Hockey does a great job with, getting everybody to kind of be on the same page a little bit.
Right.
The Central States leagues that we have, teams are great, and really in a way they make our job a little bit easier because they're doing such a good job at developing these kids. And there's just a lot more hockey players in St. Louis area compared to when I was younger. We've evolved big time. There's more rinks, and there's better coaching, I think. Not to say that there wasn't good coaching, 25 years ago when I was a younger kid, but a lot of guys from the St. Louis area have moved on to play, whether it's juniors or college or pro, and they're giving back to the community. So I think it's important to have, guys with experience, guys with passion, and they all come back to the area because, they want to give back to the communities that help them get to the next level.
Right.
So, no, it's really cool to see the development. Now we have 2 AAA teams in town. Back when I was younger, there was only 1 AAA team in town. And, you can, to kind of hit on the PHL stuff is, some of these kids that, if there was not 2 AAA teams, where would their path have been?
Right.
The platform and development that the PHL can provide for our organization certainly is second to none, in my opinion. And then obviously our cross rival around town, I think, does a great job as well.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for that program and the things they do. And I think we make each other better.
Yeah.
But, St. Louis as a whole, like I said, has come a long way. A lot of the NHL alumni give back too.
Right.
So, it's just really cool to see.
Yeah.
And the Blues winning the Cup back in 19 kind of
the best day of my life.
It was unbelievable, man. I as a kid, it's just like, I want to see one Stanley Cup in my life, and I'm good. If the Blues never win again, I'm good. I got my cup, and I was pretty fortunate enough. I have one of my best friends, former NA player, Patrick Marron.
Oh, yeah.
Me and him grew up playing youth hockey together and lived right down the street from each other.
No way.
So,
okay, yeah.
We've known each other since we were 6. So to see him win the Cup for the Blues,
right?
Score that big goal versus Dallas,
that was
like,
electric.
I got chills just talking about it. I got pictures hanging in my basement, and and then to see him, not to go a little bit off topic, to see Coop win, who I played for Coop, and he has some St. Louis ties, and see Pat win with Coop. Like, I've been pretty spoiled, I think, over the course of the last few NHL seasons to see some of my former colleagues really do well.
And a best friend.
Yeah.
He's a hometown hero, baby.
He is the hometown hero. He's got some pretty good post-game sellies for sure.
Yeah. It's funny that you kind of talked about that, like some St. Louis native guys and giving back, and you go on and watch a Blues game on TV and you see Pat Marron in a CarShield jersey and Ryan O'Reilly as well, even though he's not from St. Louis. So it's pretty cool to see that, and that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just kind of jealous because you guys got a Stanley Cup. I was just hoping for a playoff appearance for my team.
You're hoping for a win.
Hey, we almost beat Florida today. It's fine.
Yeah.
I guess going back to your time with the Bandits, Coop, was Coop your coach then?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay, so 2 years. So what was playing with him like? I mean, you see him now at the NHL level, and I mean, the story is that he was a lawyer, just kind of started coaching high school hockey and worked his way up. And we know that he basically did a lot of things. Like, besides coaching, he was probably running the ZAM, putting up advertisements. He was doing all that, all that stuff behind the scenes. What was that like playing for him? And, what did you see back then that maybe is translating his success now?
Yeah, I mean, Coop's still a good friend of mine. I'll tell you, he keeps in touch with all his players. I could shoot him a text right now and he'd respond to me. He's just an awesome guy. A couple things that I see translate, now that he's in the NHL is he's certainly a player's coach. He gets his players to buy in. Every player that plays for him know that Coach Cooper cares about him. Has one-off conversations with guys on what they need to do better, or just talking about personal life. Just really makes the players, the team as well, kind of feel like it is a one big family. And I know that's pretty cliche, but when I played for Coop and I look back on the things that I've learned from him, obviously I learned a lot of things on the hockey side of things, but I think I learned more about life from Coop than I did about hockey sometimes. But it was awesome to play for him. Every player in that locker room would go through a wall for him, and just one of my kind of, personal favorite stories with Coop, back in my day, I was actually having some troubles with the NCAA clearinghouse kind of stuff. I played juniors for a couple of years out of high school, and, back then they didn't have the resources like they do now. So we didn't know to apply. And then finally when I do apply, they're like, well, you need to do this or higher ACT score. And so what I did, and he's like, we're gonna work through this. We're gonna get through this. He's like, every day after practice, you're gonna come over to my house, and we're gonna have dinner, and then my wife is going to take you through the ACT prep course. And so we probably did that for 2 months, and it was an ongoing joke back then, but every city we would go to, because the ACT is only a certain amount of time in each city. So St. Louis, they maybe had it once a month. So every city we were going to, his wife would check in to see if there's an ACT test there. Oh, wow. And I took it in, I think, Wichita Falls. I took it in Santa Fe. I think I took it I took it like 4 or 5 different places. And meanwhile, you got to go play a game that night. Exactly. Right. Yeah, no, exactly. So, ended up getting a very good score by the end of it, getting into college, and, playing at Western Michigan there, and a lot, it goes into Coop. He was really close with the assistant coach there. And he kind of called the guys like, hey, you need to take a look at this kid. And the next thing you know, I was signing with Western Michigan, and, a lot of success when I was there as a team and as a player. So, all that goes back to, not just Coop, the people that I learned through youth hockey in St. Louis, through my time in Springfield. But Coop is just, I don't think they get much better than him, man. Like, he's just the ultimate players coach. You can talk to him about anything, and never really gets too high, too low, kind of even keel type of guy, and always positive type of coach. It's pretty cool to see what he's done, and hopefully he has another crack at the cup again.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him on that quest for the cup, ESPN Plus. He's got the cigar, he's got the pool. He's like, all right, let's go for 3. Like, might as well. Like,
go for 3.
He's got that demeanor about him where, like you said, you just want to run through a wall for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and he does it all, like you said. I mean, if we needed, if you asked Coach Cooper to tape your stick, he would tape your stick. Like, he would do, he would do whatever it was. Jobs. Yeah, he would. Yeah. He would. Yeah. Really enjoyed my time playing for him.
Well, and I think as a player too, when you see a coach that does the little things, it kind of motivates you to do the little things. Maybe not, maybe put up the beer advertisement or anything, but like, just stay after practice, work on these, little skills each and every day just to get better. Even if it's just at 1%, you're getting better every day at some, little thing that's going to help you in the long run. So I think that probably translates really well to,
and in life.
Like you said, in hockey and in life as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was the type of guy that he would shoot you straight, whether it was good, whether it was bad. He was an honest coach, and it was good to kind of get that feedback, because sometimes there is coaches out there that say you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and then when it comes for the coach to actually do it, they don't do it sometimes. But he was a man of his word, and he was just the ultimate coach, in my opinion.
Let's talk about that a little more, obviously, with Coach Cooper. You yourself and St. Louis, sorry, if I can get words out today out of my mouth. The St. Louis Bandits winning 2 Robertson Cups. Talk about that stint there with you and winning that cup the first time, what that felt like, then coming back and doing it again. Because you took a little time away from the NAHL, then came back to the team and put us in your skates.
Yeah. So I was playing that season, actually. I went to Springfield my first year junior. Then I went to Lincoln in the USHL. Wasn't going the way I wanted it to.
You were quite young too going into the USHL, right?
I think I was 18.
Okay.
So, not right at the age, you should have been, but wasn't off to the best start. And we're about halfway through the year, and they actually traded me to Green Bay. And the Bandits moved to St. Louis. It was their first year in St. Louis. And I had my 2 best friends playing for the Bandits, Sean Garsh and Patrick Marron. Yeah. And when I got traded to Green Bay, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to go home. Right. And, told Lincoln, I said, hey, like, I'm not going to go to Green Bay. I'm going to go home and play for Coop. So long story short is Springfield still had my rights.
Oh.
So, and this was at like the 12th hour of like roster locks.
Yeah.
And Coop works his magic somehow. I go to bed that night, thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I going to Green Bay? Am I going to Springfield? Right. He calls me at like 6 a.m. And obviously I was, kind of groggy a little bit, and he says
he was up for 7 hours already.
Yeah, he's been up all night working this deal. Actually, true story, I think they were up till like 2 a.m. working this deal.
Yeah.
Him and John Burkhart, who still works alongside him in Tampa there. Yeah. And Brian Garlock, who I think's the video guy for the Lightning. But he calls me at like 6 a.m. He says, can you make it to the airport in 2 hours or something? And I said, what? probably. Why? What's going on? He says, I'm going to fly you down to Texas and you're going to play tonight versus, I don't know who we were playing. And I said, sounds good. I'll be there. So like he had my ticket lined up. They flew me down there, welcomed me with open arms. So that first season I got to play for him was kind of like a half of a year, coming into a new market, I guess you could say, where St. Louis their first year in the NA. And we had a really good team, a lot of good players that moved on and played NCAA Division I and pro hockey. But, our first series was versus Alaska. And I think it went to game 3. And I actually scored the game winner in overtime. And it was pretty cool feeling to help the team out. Right. I don't know who we played in the second series, but then we went back to Alaska for nationals. And, Coop always found a way to have his teams motivated and ready to go. And something, I forgot what he does now, but something he did with our team is we had this, team stick. And after every game we won, we would get a hockey lace and tie a puck onto that hockey lace and hang it. And it just kind of motivated us to, and whoever he named the player of the game, whatever, would hang it on the stick. Sometime it was the decor, sometime it was a line, sometimes it was the goalie, like always made everybody had an opportunity to, hang that on the stick. Yeah. So, it was like, all right, 2 more pucks on the stick or whatever it was. But it was a battle for us, obviously going to Alaska twice in the matter of, a month. It's a long trip. It's a time change. Right. It's dark outside at the time. And I think Mahoning Valley might have been the favorites. Us and Mahoning were the favorites. We'd play each other in the finals there. And, we had the big man, the big dog, the big rig. Mm-hmm. He put in a hat trick the first period and we all stopped sweating and we were just smiling. I think we ended up winning the game like 8-2. But it was, probably one of my best memories as a hockey player, winning a championship with 22 guys or whatever he had, like all had the same goal, playing for a coach that really cared about you and you wanted to win for him. I was fortunate to have my dad in the stands.
Yeah. A few of your best buds.
Yeah. And guys that I still, there's probably 10 to 12 of those guys I still keep in touch with. Right. I actually went to Western Michigan with Mike Leone, who's the head coach at Green Bay right now. Ben Warda went to Western with me. So, we all still keep in touch. But that moment for me was kind of like, I didn't know where my career was going at that point. I got traded, I thought I was, going to go to the USHL and do really well. And then I go to make the decision to, back then, both the leagues were, in my opinion, really close. Mm-hmm. The USHL is, obviously a really good league now, but back then it was, I think my Bandits team could have beat any of those guys. But, so I didn't know where I was going. And then I look back on it and I was like, I think I made the right decision to go win a championship, with some of my best friends that I still keep in touch with. I mean, I got that picture blown up downstairs in my basement. So, it was just an unbelievable experience. To win a championship in this league is extremely hard. Obviously, to win a championship in any league is extremely hard. So it was awesome, and it's something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, and then you guys did it again.
And then we did it again, and once you get a taste of it, you ask people who win the cup, it's like you want more.
I think I know somebody else who said something like that. His name might rhyme with Schmon Schmooper.
Yeah.
Jon Cooper.
No, that's right.
Yeah. He's a decent coach.
So, and once you kind of get that taste and you find a recipe for winning and a culture for winning, we had a lot of guys that returned back. And I was very fortunate that was in St. Louis. So to win now a second national championship in St. Louis in front of, all of my family, all of my friends at our home rink, honestly, that's the icing on the cake for me. Right. I'm like, and I still didn't have a college commitment at that time. I didn't commit until like mid-July. Okay. Because some of this ACT stuff that was kind of going on, but that was it. I was like, I can be done with hockey and just be totally satisfied. Like I climbed the mountain, I'm like, this is does it get much better than this? Obviously, I wanted to make it to the NHL and everything I could do. Still played some pro hockey, but winning in front of my grandma, my grandpa, my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters, and then my close friends.
Yeah.
It's just an awesome experience. It doesn't get much better than that.
So that stick you kind of talked about after all those playoff games, how heavy did that thing get?
It was pretty heavy. Yeah, it was pretty heavy. I think you had to win back then. I don't know if it was 12 pucks or 10 pucks. Okay. So, you feel those weighted sticks, and it was right there.
Right, yeah,
so.
That's cool.
Obviously, you're trying to help kids get to the NHL now. How much do you still follow the NHL? Like, if the Robertson Cup was on, do you throw it on? And I would say, has it changed much? I would imagine the spectacle that is the Robertson Cup now that we put on the show, you get the lights, the smoke, that we had the giant jumbotron the one year. I mean, we've made it into a show. What was that? How would you say it compares to 2008 when streaming? It wasn't on the internet. You had to go to the rink to watch it. You can't just be anywhere. How much has it changed? I guess since then.
Oh, it's unbelievable to show that the NA staff for every league. To be totally honest with you, I've been to 3 HL finals before. I've been to the NA Robbie Cup finals in the past 2 to 3 years. It's night and day different. You got broadcasting, the video is pretty clear, pretty good. All the stats that you can kind of pull up. It is a show, and I think that, you guys as a league, in my opinion, is the best marketing type of hockey that I've seen, compared to whether it's pro, whether it's college, whatever other junior leagues. I think that the video, the communication, everything that you guys have is second to none. So, and the other thing that I really see from, obviously, when I won was 07, 08, 2 years, that was, almost 20 years ago now. Wow. But it feels like it was just yesterday. But the level of play is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. The speed of the game, the physicality of the game, it's a lot different from when I played. So I try to, teach my kids, I want them to experience the things that I experienced as a hockey player and use some of my, past on how to educate them on how to try to get to this level. But the reality is everything is vamped up more, whether it's your strength training or your skill training or your nutrition. It's a lot different compared to when I played, and everything's enhanced a little bit more compared to when I played. So it's really cool to see how far the league has come, and how many kids from this league, get the opportunity to play NCAA or ACHA Division I or pro hockey and just kind of follow some of these guys. And I'm pretty fortunate. I've actually been a part of 2 NA organizations now on staff. I used to work with Corpus Christi as one of their scouts when they had, some really good teams under Brad Flynn. They were, Cassidy down there. They do a great job down there, and, got to see the ins and outs of an organization. And, when Brad left, I kind of took a year off, and, now I work with Tyler Annette and Todd Pocock and Dan Ferguson and those guys. And, I played for Springfield, and being an alumni, to see the things that they've done with that organization back, I played there 05, 06. So everything's better. Yeah. And the way they run that, the season that they had last year after a year off is just, it's amazing to see and what the work that those guys did. So, I love being a part of it and even helping, NA kids, kind of being a sponge for them. I used to get to go up to practice at least once a week. I have a daughter now, so I can't get up there as much, but, I'd run skills, and Tyler and Todd would, ask my opinion and what do you think here? And just being a part of that it's very special for me to have that opportunity. And just to see the differences from when I played and now what they do, whether it's, all the kids get their laundry done or the meals that they get, the bus that they ride, it just, everything is better. So it's pretty cool to see.
I was going to say, I think the main thing I took away from that was, the nutrition, especially. I know, not that I'm that far off from some of these kids. I guess a little bit, but nutrition was not talked about. When I grew up as a 17, 18-year-old kid, you just feed you, get you on the bus, get you out there. It wasn't a big deal. Now it's nutrition could be that, because everyone's good. Everyone in the NHL is good at hockey.
Yep.
Like everyone's strong. Everyone can skate. What's that little thing that's going to get you over everybody else? Because that's what the scouts are looking for.
Absolutely.
And then you're talking, I saw you talking to other NA coaches and stuff, because you're trying to get kids to the NA now. And you're probably preaching that same message to your kids, saying like, well, yeah, you could shoot the puck hard. Yeah, you could skate really fast. Great. What's that little thing going to be that helps you get to that next level?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I kind of steal a little page out of Craig Barnett's book. It's called the separation factor, something I learned from him 7-8 years ago. I tell my kids that all the time. I said, there's a lot of good hockey players out there. Now, whether it's juniors or college or pro, they're looking for that separation factor. Let's start with juniors. They want kids that have good grades. They want kids that are responsible, because they can move you on to the next level. If they move you on, they will get better players because of the success that they're moving guys on.
Yep.
And then you get to college, and you have to have good grades if you want to be in the lineup every single day. So I think those small details of separation factors are big, whether it's strength training, nutrition, every player, whether you're in the NHL or whether you're a youth player, you have something that you need to work on every single day. My favorite thing that I like to tell our kids is I say, you guys watch Alex Ovechkin, you guys watched him growing up, and said, what's the best thing that he does? And they're like, well, he scores goals. I said, okay, well, how does he score all his goals? Well, he shoots the puck. And I said, okay, I 100% agree. I go, but you know what he still does every single day is he works on that one-timer every single day. He works on his shot every single day. And you're talking about a guy that's one of the all-time great goal scorers in the NHL, and he's still working on his craft.
Right.
So, I like to use certain analogies and compare some NHL players who are doing it at the highest level and let them know that the work never ends, and, especially when you're younger and you think, okay, well, now I've committed to, an NCAA D1 school. Well, now the work gets harder.
Yeah.
And after you get out of school and you make it to, the American League or the NHL, now it gets even harder. So yeah, I think the lessons that I am preaching now are a little bit different than when I made it. When I made it, it was hard work and skill. The nutrition piece and the strength conditioning piece was kind of just coming into play, in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Like, it was really starting to boom.
When you would have your preseason and your, training camp, that was to get in shape. Like back in the day, that was your time to fix all those things you did wrong in the off season. Now it's like, you better come into camp ready to go.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to be behind. You might be getting cut.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Back then it was, in my summers, me and Patty, we'd be playing roller hockey the whole summer. We'd be traveling the country playing roller hockey. We didn't touch a weight, to be totally honest with you. We were 19 years old and we were playing, pro roller hockey, and we were playing like 6 divisions and, playing 6 games a day and traveling from city to city. But, that's exactly it. It is now the time is when you do have your off season, that's where you pass guys up. And the guys that aren't working hard in the off season and treating it seriously, those are the guys that eventually come into camp. And whether you're a youth player or a junior player or a pro player, whatever it is, everything's different. So let's go for the youth guy. If you didn't do anything all summer, well, you're probably going to start off on the bottom line and you're going to put yourself in jeopardy. If you're a junior guy, well, you might get cut, and same thing with college. You might find yourself in the stands. I think the college market is a lot different, obviously, now with the strength and conditioning piece. A lot of it is, strength and conditioning, nutrition. You only play 30 games. So I remember we had an award for the summer at Western, who won the strength and conditioning award, dedication, who put the most time in, and that was like celebrated. Like, you wanted to win that,
right.
That shows the coach, like, hey, I'm the most dedicated player on this team.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Where are we at here? Sorry, we got a bunch of notes.
No problem.
So finished college. You guys won the CCHA one of your years there. Kind of talk about your college experience, and then going after college, you found yourself in the pros, the SPHL, the CHL. I'm guessing St. Charles Chill was in St. Louis.
Yep.
I remember going to what was that AHL team they had there?
The River Otters.
Yes.
Missouri River Otters.
Yep. I went to a few games there growing up. But talk about your time there. Then you find yourself in the ECHL with Tulsa.
Yeah. College was a great experience for me playing at Western. The Lawson Lunatics, best fans in college hockey. Just a great environment and culture for a young man to, get his degree, play really good hockey, and have fan support, staff support from the school. But it was kind of highs and lows. So, my freshman year, I came in really late, as I told you, I committed in July. So, they have a lot of guys that, already are in the lineup and kind of guys that have penciled in. So my first semester, I think I played 2 games, and, I was down on myself a little bit, and I just had to kind of find my way. My second semester, I played, I want to say 19 out of 22 games. End up having 16 points and doing really, really well. But I think the turning point for me was I didn't really quit. I'm like, okay, this is a process. It's going to take me some time. I'm playing against kids that are 3 to 4 years older. Right. I came to the team late. The team was doing pretty solid at the start of the year. And my assistant coach now at CarShield, Kyle Kramer, played at Northeastern University, and our teams were playing each other, and we were so excited to play against each other. Yeah. We grew up together. Yep. He played in the NA for Wichita Falls, played against him in the NA. We played for the St. Louis Junior Blues together, played juniors together, played at CBC High School together, played roller hockey together. I mean, we were really close. Both of us were scratched that night in the stands. Both of us. So, we're texting the week before, our team's going to win, and, I'm going to score. Yeah. Keep your head up, bud. And it gets to game day, and he texts me, he says, I'm out of lineup. And I didn't find out until I got to the rink, and I text him. I said, well, it looks like we're going to be having some pretzels in the stands tonight.
Yeah, where are you sitting at?
That we'll be taking stats tonight. So, we both sat up there and we're like, we know, and he was a junior at the time who came off a really good season. And we both said, we know we can do this. Asked each other, what do you think that the reason you're not playing is, or what do you think you need to work on? And, we both played the next night, and neither of us came out of the lineup the rest of the season. Wow. So it was kind of just, a little bit of adversity in the long run kind of helps a player, in my opinion.
100%.
So freshman year was great, though. I kind of got a taste of both worlds on, what it's like to be on both sides of the fence there. And, we had a good run in the playoffs, lost to Michigan, I think in the second round. My sophomore year, coming off a big second half, got a lot of ice time, and it was great, but the team we had a rough year in my sophomore year. I think we finished last in the CCHA. So it was, a lot of other things going on in college, as you can imagine. So we had a lot of fun, let's just say that. But, and then my junior year, we got a new coach, Jeff Blashel, who's, Jon Cooper's assistant now.
Yeah.
Coach,
done well.
Was the Red Wings coach there for 8 to 10 years. Yeah. So, he's one of the greatest coaches I ever played for, but he came in there and just changed the whole entire thought process and culture of their team.
Yeah.
That season was a great experience for me to kind of learn I think that's where I truly learned kind of how to be a pro and how to take care of your body and just everything, we ended up making it to the CCHA finals that year.
Yeah.
We lost to Miami, Ohio, who I think that season lost in the national championship game.
Oh, wow.
They had some studs on their team. Carter Camper, former NA guy, Andy Mealy, guys that play in the NHL.
Right.
So really good experience to play for Jeff Blashel and Pat Ferschweiler, who's now the head coach, and Rob Facca, who's with the Chicago Blackhawks. Learned so much from those guys. But now I get into my senior year, and Coach Blashel goes to the American League. So now I'm going in, I'm like, man, this is my third new coach in 3 years.
Yep.
Wow. So it's pretty tough because every coach is different, and every coach sees every player a little bit differently. One coach might see as a goal scorer. One coach might see as a fourth liner.
Right.
And unfortunately, my senior year coach is Andy Murray, who is one of the greatest hockey coaches of all time, Coach Team Canada, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, he's an unbelievable guy and coach. And me and him, we had a great relationship, but he kind of saw me as that fourth or fifth line guy in and out of the lineup. And I'm a senior, and I'm like kind of going through this again. Like this, right. I went through this as a freshman, and he was playing all his freshmen, which I can understand. He's going to be there with these kids for a long time. He wants to get them, acclimated and underneath his wing and all that. So about a month of the season goes by, and I've probably played like 2 out of 10 games. And I knock, on Coach's door, and I said, "Coach, can I talk to him?" He says, "Yeah, absolutely." And I said, "What do I got to do?" Right. And he says, "Well, right now I don't think I see you like being a top guy for us. And if you're not a top guy for us, I don't want to put you on the third or fourth line." And I said, "Okay, well, is there anything specific like I have to do?" And he says, "You get a chance to get in there, do everything you can to not get out." So that kind of put a little doorbell rang in my head. Mm-hmm. I'm like, ding, ding, ding. This is exactly what happened freshman year. Yeah. So I said, "All right." I said, I'll tell you. I said, when I get in that lineup, I said, I ain't coming out, and I'm going to be better than all these guys. Yeah. I got in the lineup and pretty much played the whole entire rest of the season. Yeah. By the end of the year, I was, second or third line, playing on the second unit on the power play. Yeah. And on the 5-on-3, and we won the CCHA, which was, another experience. You look at, I've won some championships at juniors in college, and just unbelievable to win in Joe Louis Arena, historic Joe. Yeah. Playing the University of Michigan. Oh yeah. Once again, I had my family in the stands, and it was awesome. It was a great experience to win the CCHA. Yeah. After we lost in the finals the last year, we lost in the NCAA tournament my junior year, and now we're going to the NCAA tournament my senior year, and going to play North Dakota, who's obviously, University of Michigan, North Dakota. We're playing some powerhouses here, and Western now is a powerhouse. Definitely. They are. Definitely. And I think that Coach Blashill, Coach Furschweiler, and Coach Vaca kind of helped start to get that trend going. Mm-hmm. So we played North Dakota at Xcel Energy Center, Minnesota Wild's rink, ended up losing 3-2. And it was just it was an amazing experience, even though we lost. Like, actually, there's an interview on YouTube, and I got interviewed after the game. I actually scored that game, and I'm like crying in the interview because, my college career was over. Right. And they were asking about, how the game goes and blah, blah. You don't care. Yeah. I'm like, I have the beard going because it was playoffs. So I'm all scruffy. My hair's long. And it was kind of funny when my players will pull that interview up. They're like, "Coach, you're soft." Like, kind of chirp me a little bit. But, I look back on that and I see the emotion on my face on how special that university is to me. Yeah. It's time of my life. College is the best 4 years of life, and to have the experience to play at a high level at a school like Western is just great. And the staff there has done a great job with those guys. My roommate's actually assistant coach there. So we went there. I took my team there last year before playoffs, and we got to practice there. That's cool. It just brought back a lot of memories, and have my kids on the ice. And I'm really, I'm waiting for the day to get that CarShield player to sign at Western Michigan University, and it will happen one day. Yeah, definitely. So
let's kind of just roll right from that into your job now, CarShield AAA coaching. And you just kind of stated there too that raw emotion you had and what it meant to you to play in college hockey, and obviously pushing kids onto the next level, whether it be the NAHL and moving on to college, but having such a long background of playing in the NA, winning in the NA, playing in the NCAA, winning in the NCAA, like how special is that when you see these kids make those commitments and move on to this next step and just keep ties with these young players that you've helped in their career?
Yeah. I mean, it's what I love to do. It's what I'm passionate about. So, kind of just dial it back before I kind of got with, we used to be the St. Louis Selects actually when I first started, and kind of involved in the CarShield. But, me and JP JP started the Selects, or took over the Selects the year before I got here. And, he's a big roller hockey guy as well. And so we've known each other a long, long time. And he's a couple of years older than me. So I used to always kind of watch him play. And you know, when I was in juniors in college, I would do private lessons with kids, and I would coach roller hockey teams, like 8 and 10-year-olds. The Cobras. Oh
gosh, get them out of here.
Yep. And I kind of knew it without kind of like just putting in my head that one day I wanted to be a coach and be involved in hockey. So then I'm in college and I'm in, you know, playing pro hockey and I'm getting through pro hockey, which is a grind, had some bad injuries. And eventually in Tulsa, had a really bad shoulder injury that kind of ended my career and had a lot of things done to it. But JP calls me and he says, you know, are you going to play next year? And I said, I don't know. Like I just got surgery. Like I was 28 years old at the time. I was like, I don't know. Like I have some contract offers. He's like, well, you know, we'd love to get you involved in what we're doing here and just start in a small scale. And I said, all right, well, give me some time to think about this and what I really want to do with my life. Right. So, you know, I sit down with, see my role model. I sit down with my dad. I'm like, Dad, what do you think? You know, should keep playing? Like, he's like, what do you want to do? Right. I said, I don't know. You know, so, you know, my dad's been in the insurance business for the past 4 years. So he said, why don't we do this? He said, why don't you work on getting your insurance license? In the meantime, this was in the summer, you know, and the pro season doesn't start in October and we're sitting down in June. Yeah. And and he's like, and get your insurance license and then we'll just kind of just go from there. Like tell JP a little bit at a time, you know, because I wasn't coming in to be a head coach. I was coming in to be the second assistant or whatever and just kind of get going. It gets to the end of the summer and I'm on a trip with my family and JP calls me in August and he says, you know, I need to finalize my staffs. Like, what do you want to do? I said, I'm in. Just kind of just out of the blue. Right. You know, I haven't talked to him in like 2 to 3 weeks and like I hadn't thought about it in 2-3 weeks. And I did pass my insurance license test. So I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. I said, hey, I'm in. Okay. So I started selling insurance and kind of helping out JP as the 18U assistant. And then eventually kind of my passion just kind of took over. I'm like, man, I love this stuff. Like I love being on the ice with the kids. I love doing video with the kids. You know, I was implementing a lot of things that I did in juniors in college, especially from my strength trainer at Western, whether it was running shuttles or, you know, protein shakes after our skates. And just like treating them 16s and 18s like they were juniors in college. And like, so when they get to those levels, they're like, oh, we did this with CarShield. So I kind of just, I guess I don't want to say fell into it because I was always like in that coaching type of role with skill lessons and things like that. But as this evolves and we added more teams, more job opportunity kind of opened. And I found myself kind of, you know, helping JP run this organization. And, you know, whether it's ordering apparel or helping with ice times or coaching or mentoring, whatever it is, like I enjoy the aspects of hockey. Right. Like I'm a hockey guy through and through. I mean, if I have TV on, it's hockey. Yeah. Even if it's a game from 20 years ago. Right. Like I rarely watch anything but hockey. And
if you have free time before your game here, you're sitting here talking on a podcast about hockey.
Absolutely. Or I'm chatting it up with somebody, you know, out there, all the good coaches and people involved with the NAHL. But no, I really think it's about the passion. And I'm so passionate about this sport and I want the opportunities. I see my life and where I'm at and my best experience in life, my best friends in my life come from hockey. So, you know, as much as I want to win every game, I'm a very competitive guy. I want these kids my number one goal is to teach them life lessons and then help them move on. And I'll tell you, to get kids to see them, like you said, playing in the NA or playing college, like every chance I get, I'm pulling up that app, Hockey TV. Oh, I'm going to watch, you know, this kid play tonight. Oh, I want to watch this kid play tonight. Or I'm texting JP, hey, did you see how so-and-so did tonight? Here's the video. Right. You know, to see, you know, now to kind of go into the St. Louis thing a little bit more, now to see Lindenwood University, NCAA D1, we have 3 of our former players there that I coached. It's really special. You know, it's really special. You know, Jack Anderson, actually, who's a freshman there at Lindenwood, played in El Paso last year, played 4 years with us, 15, 16s, 2 years of 18s. he was actually we practiced yesterday before the bus left. He was at our practice.
No way.
Talked to our kids, and he had a game that night.
Right, yeah.
Their
home opener.
Their home opener.
Yeah, big game.
And that's just, we like to think, some of the kids that we come up with, some of the experiences that they have is they want to give back, and they have a good time playing for us, and just enjoy and embrace the grind a little bit. We ride buses. It takes us 9 hours to get up here. Yeah. We're going to Pittsburgh at the PHL event in February. That's going to take us a good 10, 11 hours. So they learn, when you get to the NA or whatever junior league you're playing in, 3HL or wherever, that it is, a lot about the off ice stuff.
It is.
And, I think a lot of our coaches have played at these levels. So it's great to have, the bounce board where they can ask us questions like, what did you do when you play, and things like that. So, I just kind of fell into this thing, and it's been an awesome ride. I really enjoy it. And the league, like I've talked to you before, it's been unbelievable. It's made our organization, in my opinion, with the tendering system, with the development platform that they can provide. I think it's second to none for our kids. It's clear to me, if you put in the work and you're a good enough player, you will move on. And it's as simple as that. So,
yeah, I could see, like, I could hear the passion in your voice. Like, I could see in your face, like seeing guys that you coach. I mean, you mentioned Jack Anderson, 4 years in the system, goes to NA. Now he's at Lindenwood. So he's, just keeping it in house, I guess, coming back to St. Louis. Just like, I could tell you just genuinely love it. And you maybe cherish those moments just as much as you cherish your own memories of playing and winning and succeeding and all that stuff at, the NA and NCAA level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes I think they're almost better, right? Because it's, to see the smile on their face, to see the emotion that they get, if they sign a tender or if they sign a Division I school. And, for me, my work doesn't stop when they leave our organization. And that's not just with hockey. I mean, we have letters of recommendations for whatever kids are doing. We have one kid that wanted to go in the Army. We had, another kid that wants to be an engineer, whatever it is, that's what we're here for. But to see these kids have these smiles on their faces when they get to those levels, that's the icing on the cake for me. So, and everybody's path's different is what I like to tell these kids. You could take Jack Anderson's path, who played 2 years of 18s. You could take Josh Boyer, who played for us, tendered out of 16U, got cut from the NA, came back to 18s, re-tendered, played for Brookings, had a really good season in Brookings, then went to the USHL, signed a Division I deal at UNO, plays for UNO for 2 years, and now with the transfer thing, now he's playing Division I at St. Lawrence. Hopefully he has some day to play some pro hockey, but every path is different. And that's what the kids have to learn is, you might be out of the lineup on one team and then you might be a stud on the next team, or this coach doesn't like you. You got to find a way to deal with adversity, because that's such a big part of it. Another kid that's on Lindenwood, the first team that I ever coached, his name's Andy Willis. He played for us, 2 years of 16s, 2 years of 18s, but his first year of 18s, he decided halfway through the year that hockey, it was just a lot. He was a senior in high school, didn't know where he was going with hockey. He's like, I'm going to focus on school, just going to play high school. And we supported him. We're like, hey, if your head's not in it and you got other things and you want to focus on your academics, we totally understand. We support you. If anything changes, we'll welcome you back with open arms. Yeah. He comes back to our team the next year as a second year 18U, as a post grad, has an unbelievable season. We had a really good team that year and signed a tender with Lone Star. Did well at Lone Star for Coach Wildfong. A lot of great things to say about him, but Wildfong traded him to Austin. Had a great season at Austin. Signed D3 at St. Thomas, who then went Division I. Didn't work out from St. Thomas. Played ACHA Division I last year at Lindenwood. Won a national championship at the ACHA Division I level, which, by the way, is great college hockey. Yeah. And now he's playing NCAA Division I at Lindenwood.
Oh, wow.
So, and I watched them play Michigan. Was it 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
And he had an assist on some highlight reel breakaway goal that some kid scored. And it was just so cool to see him being on the Yost Arena ice and getting an assist, and maybe he has some chance to play pro hockey one day, but two different, way different paths that you can kind of see through kids, and every step of the way, a lot of these guys are calling JP or me or whoever that their coaches were at that time. And I think that's part of it for us is once you get to juniors, we're calling teams to get you to college. Once you get to college, I'm calling pro teams to try and get you to pro. Yeah. If that's what you want to do, or if you want to get a job, or if you want to come coach for us, whatever you want.
We're always looking for help.
Yeah, that's right. We always need good coaches and good people. But no, it's one of the reasons why I love doing this so much, and one of the reasons I'll hopefully be doing this, in my 60s and my 70s maybe.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Kyle? Obviously, this has been our longest and best interview so far. This has been unbelievable.
I just want to thank you guys for having me. Mark Frankenfeld for the development and the things that he does for the league, and your guys' staff. Like I've mentioned many times, it's second to none, and I'm honored to be a part of what you guys are doing here, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. We appreciate all the kind words.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, Kyle, for the awesome interview. Pat Marron, Jon Cooper, you name it, all sorts of cool people that has been a part of his life that he's still super tight with. So we can't thank him enough for coming out on the podcast and just being a super guy with us and just hanging out and talking, and no rush at all. Like we just said before this interview, that he had a game in like an hour and a half before that, but he was just cool, calm, and collective, hanging out, and was in no rush to shut us up.
Well, and he had so many good stories with Coop, and then Pat Marron, and then just his whole college experience, how he went through some, adversity, and that he's tried to teach it on to his younger guys who he's preparing for the junior level and the college level as well. So you could see, this is the first interview we've ever done. We actually could look at the person, see them in their eyes, and you could see it in his face and in his expressions, like how much he cares about these kids and how much he wants these kids to get to that next level where he has been to, because he knows the thrills of success, as he's won multiple Robertson Cups, a couple college conference championship as well. So he's done a few things.
That's for sure. Again, can't thank him enough. Good luck to CarShield as well this upcoming season.
We got some great games on tap this weekend in the NAHL. Definitely check those out on NAHL TV. Follow the social media, because we're always posting clips of the game winners, things like that. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another great guest. Who is it going to be? We're not going to tell you. We're going to leave it at that, because it might be someone really cool.
Might be somebody pretty cool. We might also be switching and figuring out the video aspects of things, so you can see Vinny's nice basement that he's in. You can check out my office with a TV that's behind me. And don't forget, shop.nahl.com. We're going to be having the merch, I believe, here pretty soon. So again, just hop on over to nahl.com. You'll find all the games coming up for this weekend. You'll find the highlights, stars of the week, and the shop as well. Anything else, Vinny?
I think that's gonna put a wrap on it for us today. The story was Kyle, so let's let him enjoy the moment, right?
Exactly, the longest episode we've had, and it was it's one of the best so far.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks everybody again for tuning in. We'll catch you in 2 weeks on November 3rd for episode 5. Thanks again for tuning in to Short Shifts Podcast. I'm Brandon Hofstra with Vinny Paracelli. We'll catch you next time.